Um, Megan, if you want to go ahead and start recording, we're about to start. Okay, you're good.
All right. Hi, my name is Heather Nelson. I'm currently the executive in residence at Arkansas State University. And this is the first school year ever for this role to be here at Astate. And as such, I was asked to come in and share a little bit about things that I think might be helpful to you as you prepare for both the FBLA competitions that are going to come up in the spring, but these are also, life lessons and some things that I'm going to talk about today are really things that I've been culling and putting together based on conversations that I'm having with students who are preparing for interviews, whether it's for internships or post-graduation. And so hopefully you'll find some of this information helpful. I could have used a board, but I don't have to. So I'm going to go over 4 things.
You want me to grab that and bring it over there?
Yeah, let's grab. Let me just roll this one. This one's real, I think, easier. Sorry, I could have thought of that before we started recording. And make sure this is. Oh my goodness. Sorry. If that's too close.
Here, I can just move this back.
Oh, it's okay. I can put this.
Oh, there we go. Works
Are you
perfect.
sure?
Yep.
Okay. For sure. Okay. All right. So there's really 4 things that I want to highlight today with all of you, and it's based on a question that I got asked from a student who said to me, "What would you say to if you could go back to when you were 22 or 21 or 20, and you're sitting there as a sophomore, junior, or senior in college? What would you tell yourself?" And that you didn't know back then. And so there was 4 things. Actually, if I'm completely honest, there were 3 things that I said that day in the class. But because students have a way of getting into your brain, and I couldn't sleep for about 2 days thinking about the question. And then I came up with a 4th thing. And so the 3 things or the 4 things. And I'm going to go over these individually. But the first one is know yourself. The second one is time management. The third one is communication. And the 4th one is get a mentor or a dozen mentors. And so let's talk about these one at a time and why these will make a difference for you. First of all, and this is helpful. So I did FBLA when I was in high school. They didn't have it when I was in college. And so I've done FBLA competitions, and there's just nothing more intense in all of your days. So you're going to be nervous, and that is A-okay. So everybody else in that room is also nervous. But one of the things that we didn't have when I was in college is personality tests. But when I got out into the workforce in the early 90s, a lot of companies were spending a lot of money to put their teams through personality tests. And so within a span of a few years, I had done, I swear, every personality test known to me. And so, and I wish that I had figured that out in college, because right now you're having to work on a lot of teams. And you love it, don't you? You love working on teams. Now, if anybody's going to love working on teams, it's people who do FBLA, probably more proportionate, more higher percentage than the average student body. But the truth of the matter is doing personalities and taking the time to learn kind of what your tics are, like how you react under stress, what your likes and dislikes are. Taking that time and figuring that out for yourself not only tells you a lot about yourself, but it also helps you understand other personality types. And guess what? The only difference between college and the real world is in the real world, or post-graduation, because I don't like the phrase real world. I know you guys do, but it's post-graduation, is that everybody gets paid to be on a team. Whereas in college, you just have to in order for your grades. So I really tell people, take the time to figure out, you can Google, and for less than $25, and some of them for free. You can take a whole host of personality tests and be curious about yourself. And in essence, be curious about other personalities, because you are going to spend more time with the people that you work with and these teams than anybody else in your life, including your loved ones. So it's important. This is super important. Number 2 is learn time management. This is another thing that nobody talked about, time management, at least not when I was in school. But post-graduation and my first couple of jobs out of college, I had a couple of major companies spend probably, $50,000, $75,000 or more in time management training for me and a lot of the people that were in different programs with me and stuff. And so time management became a big deal. And what I like to tell college students especially is, you're already good at time management. You just don't advertise it. And when you're sitting in an interview, this is something that you need to be bragging about. So how many of you are working on your spring semester schedules right now? How many of you are already looking at summer and maybe even fall of next year? Yeah. And your whole life's going to be what? Circled around your classes and work and all that. Those skills that it takes to do that you're all doing right now is called time management. And so college students are great managers of time, but you don't talk about that. And so you need to really share that you have that skill set, and also figure out ways to get even better at it. There's an exercise I train people on around like time blocking and stuff, which is a deep analysis of how am I spending my day, so that I can figure out how to reorient my day to be more effective. And so these are things, again, the beauty is the internet didn't exist when I was your age, but it does today. And you can Google, and you have access to so many free things that will help you in this area. And employers want people who can manage their time. Third is communication. So when I started lecturing at Astate this semester, I sent kind of a text message to a bunch of people that are like partners of CPA firms in the state of Arkansas, CEOs and across the state of Arkansas, CFOs, COOs. And I asked them kind of a host of questions and said, what are the big things that you're not seeing that you want to see when you're interviewing and when you get new hires in? And one of the things that kept coming up over and over again was communication. And the major agreement was that communication will get you a promotion faster than skill set every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Because communication it's just not working. And it wasn't working pre-pandemic, but let's just be honest, the pandemic definitely hurt us. Communication, if there was a direction like on this, like it went way down. The stock value, it went down. The need for it went up. So we have a major conflict here in the workplace around communication. So one of the things that I stress to students is you really need to work on communication. Again, kind of back to how do you like knowing yourself is how do you like to communicate? Do you like to communicate in face-to-face? Do you prefer email? Do you prefer text? Well, okay. Knowing that's really important, but also you have to be adaptable in the workplace. So what if the best form of communication is face-to-face? Well, and that's not your forte. You're not very good at it. So are you practicing to be better at it? Because there's going to be a real need for that. Are you practicing how you communicate via email? Your generation grew up in texting. And so let's just be honest, you're super at text, but text doesn't necessarily correlate to clear communication. It also you can't cut and paste a text and put it in an email, and that is the equivalent. So one of the things that I really stress is check your own communication skills, make sure that you're practicing and you're asking for feedback. This is something to talk to your professors about, because you're turning in work to them every week. So ask them, am I communicating well with you? Like audibly, written, email, is there something that I could improve on? What could I do? You're kind of getting free feedback with no harm, because your grade's not going to be necessarily impacted by asking for that feedback. So ask and have them tell you, talk to your friends, talk to your family, ask your mom. how do am I good communicator? I mean, that's a great thing to do over the holiday break is ask the people around the table, hey, how would you rank my communication skills? And make sure that you're taking the time again, practice, 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 because this is something that if you practice it, you will get better. So I just, again, can't stress that one enough. And then 4 is get a mentor or mentors. Again, and when I was in college, I don't even know that I knew what the word mentor was. I don't know that anybody used it. I certainly didn't have any mentors. And so this is something where we've just come a long way. And so I stress the students, I often tell the story of my professional life and how mentors have completely changed my life. I mean, everything I have, every accolade, every promotion, every opportunity to, start and run my own companies, everything is, I can directly correlate back to my mentors, all of them or one or more individually. And so I got my first mentor 2 years post college, which was actually a professor of mine in college. And so my longest running is 31 years for mentor. My youngest, I have 7 active mentoring relationships going right now because they are seasonal. They can be seasonal. The one that's been the shortest amount of time has been 25 years out of that 7, and then one is 31. And so I am in a really rich mentor season where I have 7 people who have been with me a long time, who've seen the roller coaster of my life. They've seen the good and bad, the things I've done good, the things I've done bad. They know my sins and shortcomings. And they're still, I'm 53. I've been working since I was 13, so it's 40 years. And I've been post college for 31 years. So I've got a lot of work history and a lot of life under me. And I have 7 people who are older than me. And they don't have to be older than you, but actually one of them is younger than I have 7 people who are pouring into me on a consistent basis. And so that's how important this is. So I really, in fact, I tell students, like, if you want to email me or call me, and we've talked about an opportunity here at Astate of maybe we need to do like a webinar, like a day, like a Saturday or a night class or something, like a one-time few hours where we just break down, like, what is it like to decide who might be a good mentor? Like, some of you would like to be a mentor. How do you go about asking them to be your mentor? What do you do when, like, because you will get rejected. Not everybody's going to say yes because of time constraints or different things. But, you're doing it for the ones, who say yes. And there will be ones who say yes. And so it's like, how do you handle that? How do you handle when somebody says no? What is that? What can you expect? What boundaries do you need to set up? Like, what do you need to ask for? So we're talking about, like, do we need to really dig into that? Because when I say this, sometimes the faces glaze over and the eyes glaze over and they go, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know how to start to ask somebody. But then when we spend a little time talking about it, one of 2 things happens. Number one, they start thinking about somebody they can ask. And they usually have people that are circling their orbit that they just never thought about. Like, I should have an actual mentor mentee relationship with them. Or they realize that they do have relationships where they're in a mentor mentee relationship. They just never categorized it like that. And so, but it's helping them kind of change that relationship and make it deeper and richer. So I always say, like, you can't have too many mentors. I mean, have at least one, but, have a dozen. If in different times of your life, you're going to need more or less. I mean, because life is not about balance. It's really about seasons. And so there's going to be seasons where you're going to need some real guidance more than necessarily. And I think somebody's spoken to you about personal board of directors or personal
Return on relationships.
Oh, return on relationships. So, and when you said that, it made me think of personal board of directors. And so what I tell people is your mentors really are your foundation for developing a lifelong personal board of directors. And all I mean by that is, just like a company has a board of advisors, a board of directors, we should have a board of directors in our lives. Maybe on your board, it's your accountant and because at my age, you have an accountant and you have an attorney and you have a broker. And And you have a pastor, and and then you have mentors, and then you need a team of people to get through this world. Life's hard, and so you need people that you trust and that you have equity with, because mentors or that person, they're going to say tough things. If you ever have watched a live board meeting, it's not all sunshine and roses all the time. I mean, they're tough questions that are asked and answered in those rooms. And so you want people who are encouraging you, but they're also speaking truth into you. So they're pouring into you. And sometimes what they're pouring into you is get a grip, like think through that, or, whatever that feedback is. I had a mentor tell me one time, girl, get out of there. Like, that job's going to kill you. That was harsh, but he was right also too. But I digress. I mean, but sometimes you don't want to hear that. I mean, sometimes you want to, endeavor to persevere. So getting mentors is really, really important. And so that, just to tack onto that, is that personal board of directors, which I think is just super important. And then the last thing that's not up here, but I'm already thinking of things I need to add to this list, but based on, I just really want for you to see the continuity between the speakers that you guys are having. So I really appreciate that Austin kind of told me about like who's come before. And so I really want to share with you that when you've learned a little bit about networking and people are talking to you about those relationships and stuff. And so I'm going to tell you my theory. I'm not a big believer in networking or networks. I am a big believer in connection. And so the difference is that when you network, you're meeting somebody and you're going, hi, my name's Heather Nelson.
Austin Murray, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And immediately I am going to start telling Austin everything about me or my company, my business, because I'm trying to sell Austin on, he needs to be buying whatever I'm selling. That's networking. What can Austin do for me? So the difference. Hi, I'm Heather Nelson.
Hey, Austin Murray.
Nice to meet you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That next question, I'm asking Austin to do the talking, not me. And I'm wanting Austin to I want to know Austin's story. I want to know Austin's life story. Tell me everything about you. Now, do I really want to know everything? Well, maybe I do. But what I really want to know is, like, what do you do? What are you passionate about? How can I help? That's what my mindset is. My mindset when I meet somebody that I want to make a connection with is, how can I help you? And so while Austin's talking to me, I'm rolling through the 4,700 contacts in my phone thinking, oh, these are the people that I need to introduce Austin to, because they could really use what Austin has, or vice versa. That's connection. Knowing that, what if that entire engagement, whether it lasts 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or an hour, what if we never get to what I do? Who cares? Because eventually with connection, the theory goes that it'll all work out. Like, it will all come back around, and it'll work out for me if I take care of other people. And so I have tried my very best, and I fail at this just like everybody does at different things, to live a life based on connection. So when I meet people, it's how can I help you, not how can they help me. And that, to me, this is non-scientific, of course, but that's, to me, is the difference between being a networker and being a connector. And so what I try to teach and implore students is go out in this world and be a connector. Look to how can you help other people, and just trust that the dividends will pay back, tenfold, hundredfold, however. Okay. All right. I think I don't know how we're doing on time, but I think we're going to open it up to questions. Is that okay? We doing okay on time? Okay. We're not at the call mark. Did I talk that fast?
Yeah, we're about 25 minutes.
Wow, look at me. Can somebody show this to Dean Washington? I'm getting more concise as we go. How many of you have you sat in on one of my lectures before? Your face?
I have not. No.
Okay, I thought that I recognized your face. Okay, so how about some questions?
I have one actually.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You mentioned getting a mentor. What is your goal with getting a mentor in the first place? Like, what would you want them to be doing for you? Like, what are you wanting out of that relationship in a way?
Have you watched Star Wars?
I've not all the way through.
Holy cow.
Oh, I've
I'm in
watched some.
college class with students a student who has not watched Star Wars.
Some.
Okay. Do you know the characters? Do you know the
Yes.
characters? Okay. It was going to be much more effective if you had actually seen the film, but at the very, like, if I were just to
Are we talking about the first one? Like with Darth Maul?
say we're talking about any of them, but okay, let's just say the first one. But at the very basic, what I'm looking for is a Yoda.
Okay.
If I'm Luke Skywalker, then a mentor for me is my Yoda.
Okay.
It's my guide. If you took a storytelling class with me, you'd learn all about the basics of storytelling. And one of them is, in every great story, there's like a guide, there's a Yoda.
Mhm.
And so in the story of my life, these are my Yodas. I mean, they are the ones who are, are pouring into me both encouragement, but they're also hard truths. When I mess up, or when I'm not looking at something right, they're helping correct it. They're also people who are speaking my name in rooms I'm not in and saying, "Hey, have you talked to Heather Nelson? Have you thought about her for that role?" They're people who are encouraging me to push myself faster, harder, farther than maybe I'm prepared for, maybe than I'm ready for, because they know I can do it, and that I need to take a leap of faith. And so
They give you that extra push, is what you're saying.
they're the ones that are, they're the guide. They're the guide of your life, helping you kind of, and they're great. And one reason that I'm in a season, not to get overly personal, but I'm in what I am calling it that, a transition season. So I'm kind of changing, my life's changing from the way that I lived it for the last dozen years with the companies that I started and stuff.
Right.
To I'm still doing some of that, but I'm doing some of this and I'm doing some other things. And so I'm in this transition season. And so I think that's one reason that I've really circulated around these 7 core mentoring relationships, and while they're and probably why I'm gravitating towards the deepest, richest, longest relationships for a lot of, hard, steady feedback, because I'm in squishy ground. I'm in uncharted territory. I'm trying new things. I'm having to let go of some things that maybe I don't want to let go of, or maybe I do, or whatever. And I'm having to say yes to some things that make me nervous. And I'm doing things that stretch me, that I'm scared. I'm walking into rooms and doing things that I've never done before. And you guys see this long resume and all this, and I'm sitting up here going, I'm sweating through my clothes right now. Like, I'm going to go squeeze out this skirt after we get done here. So you guys, I mean, you see one thing, but that doesn't mean that I'm still not nervous, or that I don't have, all of that. And so I think that that's something that it's like trying to get that through to students, to say, you see this, and I am, I have achieved all this. I am that. But that doesn't mean that I don't need people to encourage me still and guide me. And so you're looking for that person that's going to, hold your hand when you need your hand held, and who's going to drop kick you when you need to be drop kicked. And they live in this very strange, because they are all of those things. I tell students too, I go, especially for, not all of us had great parental relationships. And if you did, I'm lucky. Be grateful and tell them that you love them over the holidays. But if you didn't come from that background, for some of us, mentoring is really a form of unconditional love. Because when I tell students, because I actually had a student go, well, what did they get out of it? And I go, mentoring, because I do a lot of mentoring of others. And I say, that's the most selfish thing I do, because I get more out of it than the mentees every day of the week, twice on Sunday. That is completely the honest truth. That I'm not making that up. And so what I tell them is they're getting something out of it. And I said, but they're not doing it. They're doing it because they want to give back, because they care. And I said, it's really a form of unconditional love that some people in this world have never experienced, which makes it, I think, really hard initially, and makes it hard for some people to kind of ask for those relationships, and really to, the first steps are really baby steps. And that was certainly the way it was for me, going back to my early 20s, because what do you mean? What do you mean you're there for me? you see all this in me, like, who are you? What, you
Mhm.
wizard? I mean, you're just like, you don't trust that. You don't understand that. And so I think that, that's something to understand is, it's somebody who is spending time with you, who's pouring into you, and they don't have to do that. They're choosing to do that.
Mhm.
And the hope is that someday you'll start mentoring. I started mentoring in my late 20s. And I hope that I've gotten better at it over time. But I mean, I think, the hope is that you pass it on. This is something that, you pass on.
Mhm.
Because you have a lot to give too. And there's somebody younger than you right now that you could mentor. There's somebody in a 6-year-old. We're going to see a bunch of 3rd through 6th graders tomorrow doing competitions. Those kids need mentors just like you do. I mean, I think that, so that's a long-winded answer for that, but
Thank
I
you.
mean, you didn't know you hadn't seen Star Wars, so felt like I might needed to go the extra mile on that.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. What other questions?
How do you stay in contact and communicate with your mentors? Because you said you've had some mentors for 31 years, and
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never had like a formal mentor or anything, but there are plenty of like professors, teachers I've had over the years that I really connected with that saw something and we had conversations and they
Yeah.
helped me out along the way.
Yeah.
But I've never really done a great job of maintaining those relationships or continuing that relationship or deepening it. How do you go about that? Like how do you do that?
Okay. I think first I'll say I can share all the tips from, the various ones that I've had. I will tell you that I think it's different for every relationship. Like how I communicate with one mentor is a lot different, even down to frequency. Because I have mentors that are in Little Rock, I have one that is in Rwanda. I have, one in Fayetteville. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. And so phone is a big thing. When necessary, video calls. But like I have one mentor that we have like a standing like lunch, like twice a year. And we text every once in a while, and I keep him abreast of things going on in my life. But mainly it's those 2 lunches where we're like we're digging deep. They're 2 hours, and we just had one, and you're digging all the way to the center of the earth. And then I have like my oldest mentor is they're going through some things in their personal life right now, so we're not talking as frequently as we normally would because of things going on with them. But still, I mean, that's somebody that is more of a constant check in, and when it is a check-in, it's pretty intense of, hey, and sharing materials or thoughts. I mean, they're the reason, one of the primary reasons I get to teach in Italy every year. And so I think that, that one, and we've done presentations together. So that one is more collaborative, and they've been pushing me to be a professor and teach for decades. So they're in their happiest time with me right now. They're very happy. They haven't been happy always, but they're very, very happy. And then I have, others that, it might be like, every couple of years. It's not but there's texting, but there's not like a face-to-face. It's really only every couple of years. And then I have one that, like I just don't make a move without them. Like and there's 2 or 3 of them that are like that, but there's one that's just like, I'm not taking a role or anything. So, and I tell that, and just in case this does get out in the atmosphere, because doing the executive residence was the first time in 25 years that I had not called up and had a discussion and went through a pro con of, do I do this or not do this? 25 years. And he forgave me. But I mean, it's that is like, and so that's why I say having multiple mentors is sometimes important, because the dynamics with each of mine are different. Like, some of them pour in multiple areas, and some are just like very zeroed in on different things. And like, so I think that, and the communication style is kind of different, and the frequency. Now, I'll tell you that those have also ebbed and flowed. There have been times and seasons where I was talking to them maybe every week. because I was going through something, or I was worried about, or I was having to make a decision. And so I think that it's about giving you permission yourself and the mentor to say, this is gonna ebb and flow. There's gonna be seasonalities to this. And, and really setting up some boundaries. Like if I text, like, there was a season I was in that I texted a word. Like if I texted a word, they like found a room and picked up a phone call, like, because I was going through something. And so I think that you just have to set boundaries and ask for and do permission statements and figure that out. And so, and then it just, next thing you know, 31 years have gone by and you're still just, you still just love them and respect them, and you can't imagine your life without them. And you just are so grateful, and you go, I mean, I'm at the age where I'm starting to worry about, like, because they're starting to retire and what happens, I haven't lost, none of my mentors have passed. And so I have that's starting to come up, like what happens when I lose one and they're all too young. So it's not gonna be a thing, but you start thinking about that. So, I mean, these are real deep relationships, but just like any relationship in your life, there's just going to be different things. And so I think you just have to do what works, and don't put so much pressure on it that, oh, I haven't talked to, I mean, I was talking to one of them the other day, and another one of mine, and I was like, have you talked to him? And he was like, no. He's like, I'm not going to call him. I'm like, well, I am, because I think I'm at the 2-year mark, so, you just you reach out. And so you have the equity with them. And so you're not nervous about reaching out and say, hey, I think it's time for us to go to lunch or whatever, even if it's just to check in and grab a beer or something.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Okay.
I have
Yes,
a
sir.
side question off of that. Are you suggesting that having multiple mentors is good because the extra perspectives that they provide kind of give a more broad view to what you should be doing within your life?
I do. I like optionality in my life. I like to, I grew up during when I was a teenager, when I was in middle school and a teenager, and then in first few years of college, Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas and then the president. And one of the things that he is really gifted for, and people on both sides of the aisle always admire him for, is the fact that he was known, even back when he was governor, that he would throw a bunch of people in a room that couldn't agree on anything, and he would throw out a topic and then just let them debate the heck out of it. And he would just sit back and listen, probably drinking a Coke or Diet Coke or whatever it is he drinks. But and then he would just listen to them, and it would help him think about a subject matter different, or and he might ask questions to the end. But I mean, that image is drilled into me. And so I use that example because I think that I like that. I like talking to, like, when I came back, I took a sabbatical in 2023 for a few months. And when I came back, I methodically sat down with each of my mentors in person and said, like, here's what I'm thinking. These are the things I'm wrestling with. And I really just wanted to hear, because I knew I was entering this transition season, and I really wanted to hear from them and go, like, what is your perspective? Do you think I lost my mind? Do you think that this is great? Is there anything that, like, whatever their beliefs are, whatever, like, are you hearing anything? I mean, is your gut telling you, like, I should try this or I should look at this? I mean, I like to go into a room and throw everything against the wall and just see what sticks. Now, say all that to say, at the end of the day, it's your life, and you have to learn how to discern and take in all that information, and then, like a filter, and then decide what of that you want to keep and use, and what you want to go, yeah, or not even throw it away. It's just like, maybe not right now. Like, as I've said to my oldest, longest mentor, I told her, I said, well, see, I am teaching in a sense college. It just took me, 30 years. So, and she's still not satisfied, but, she's been pushing this career for 30 years. And so, I think that's, it's kind of like, just not no, but not right now. And so I think that happens a lot to us, even in those dynamics. Now we can also go back years later and go, man, I should have listened to you. Dadgummit. And tell me, trust me, that happens. That absolutely happens in these relationships. But yeah, I think that you'll also, let me do a cautionary tale too. that you will go through seasons where you just can't take in a lot of information. Whatever you're going through, it's just overwhelming. And so in those seasons, and I've been there too, then cherry pick who you like. If you've got 7, then go, okay, I think I can handle 2 commentaries, but that's it.
Mhm.
And then take those 2 and then discern and work through that. So don't like, again, there's rules, like get you some, but there's no rules in how these relationships need to look. They need to be what you need in the season. And that's the beauty of them. Like, no offense, but your parents are always going to be your parents, and that parental there's just dynamics that are always there. These relationships are very adaptable, and they tend to adapt and move with the ebb and flow of your life. And as I say, some can last over the breadth and depth of your life, and some will just be for a time,
Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
If you could go back and do anything before you graduated, what would you do differently?
Besides these things, I would do an internship. And I tell students that all the time, because I worked like 5 jobs at any given time to pay my way through college. So I really, internships back when I was in college were not stressed like they are today. And study abroad programs weren't stressed like they are today. And so, today it's like, how do we figure out how to help students do that? Whether it's paid internships, or scholarships or different things. So, not very many people got to do those. Your battery's low. Not many people got to do those. And then there just wasn't a lot of chatter around there. So a lot of opportunities. And so, to be honest, I knew about internships. I'm not even sure I knew about study abroad. But I didn't do either one. And internships, I felt like wasn't a possibility because I was working and I didn't know, there was nobody in my life who could help me figure out how to make that work. Like today, I just met with a student this morning. I'm like, it totally would work for them, even though they have a job too. So both of those things would be, the 2 things that I would do that I have deep regrets for my college career is that I didn't have an internship, and that I didn't do a study abroad program, which is, ironic because I find myself doing a lot of lectures around internships, and I teach a study abroad in Italy. So, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak. But I think that those experiences, because, just getting to see the world and get out of the bubble, because especially in that 4 years you're in college, it's just, you've gone from one bubble to a different bubble. And then you're about to go and get exposed to this world. And so the way I view internships and study abroads is it's a way to dip your toe in before you kind of get thrown into, the real world, quote unquote, so you can test. And internships, I think, allow you to kind of test for different professional environments too, but so those are the 2 big things. So I just, to figure out, talk to your advisors, go to the dean's office, talk to whoever, professors, because there's just so many ways for you to do both those things today, no matter what your financial position, no matter if you have a job or any of that kind of things. There's just so many ways around that. So definitely do that. Does anyone online have any questions? There any? I can't.
There is a person, but nobody said anything. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, the computer's about to die too. So
yeah.
Gonna,
any other? Good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I guess there'll be a way for you to reach out with my contact information if they have any questions after the fact, after you see this.
Yeah, I will send your contact information to Megan, and she can put that in the link or in the bio of the YouTube video.
That sounds great. I appreciate all your time. Best of luck this spring.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.